James walked home after school. The afternoon was bright and warm. He carried his books carefully. People walked along the street. James enjoyed the peaceful afternoon. Suddenly, James saw something nearby. It was lying beside road. He walked closer to inspect it. It looked like a small wallet. James picked it up carefully. The wallet looked old and brown. James opened it very slowly. There was some money inside. There was also an identification card. James knew someone had lost it. James looked around the street. Nobody seemed to search for anything. He waited beside the wallet. Several people walked past him. Nobody asked about the wallet. James checked the identification card carefully. The name was written clearly there. The man's name was Robert. His address was also written there. James decided to find Robert. James looked at the nearby houses. He found the address after walking. It was a small white house. James knocked on the front door. An elderly man opened it. The man looked very worried. James asked about his lost wallet. The man quickly checked his pockets. His face suddenly became surprised. He said his wallet disappeared. James showed him the wallet. The man looked extremely happy. He checked everything inside carefully. Nothing was missing from his wallet. He thanked James very warmly. Robert asked where James found it. James explained everything about the street. Robert listened carefully to everything. Then he smiled at James. He felt grateful for James. Robert offered James some money. James politely refused the money. He said helping people was enough. Robert smiled after hearing those words. He admired James's honest heart. Robert then asked about school. James told him about his studies. He said English was difficult sometimes. Robert smiled and offered help. He was once an English teacher. James became very interested immediately. Robert invited James inside the house. He showed him many books. There were books everywhere inside. James felt excited seeing them. Robert gave James a small book. It was an English storybook. James opened the book carefully. He started reading the first page. Robert listened to him quietly. James made several small mistakes. Robert corrected him very patiently. James repeated each difficult sentence. Soon his reading became better. He felt more confident. Robert told James something important. He said practice makes reading easier. James promised to practice every day. Robert smiled after hearing this. They became good friends. The next afternoon James returned. He carried his school notebook. Robert prepared another simple story. They practiced reading together again. James enjoyed every lesson. Days passed very quickly afterward. James visited Robert every afternoon. They read many interesting stories. Robert taught new English words. James learned something every day. James started reading more confidently. His teacher noticed the improvement. She asked about his practice. James happily explained everything to her. His teacher felt very proud. James told his classmates about Robert. Some friends wanted lessons too. Robert welcomed them very happily. Soon several children visited him. They learned English together. Robert enjoyed teaching the children. He felt useful and happy. The children respected him greatly. James especially loved their lessons. Everyone looked forward to afternoons. One rainy afternoon, Robert became sick. James noticed he looked very tired. He immediately called Robert's family. They took him to hospital. James waited outside very worried. The doctor treated Robert carefully. He needed some rest and medicine. Robert stayed home for several days. James visited him every afternoon. He brought his school notes. James also read stories aloud. Robert listened from his bed. He smiled whenever James read. Their lessons continued during recovery. James felt happy helping him. After several weeks, Robert improved. He returned to teaching again. The children welcomed him happily. James brought him a small gift. Robert became emotional seeing it. The gift was a notebook. James decorated its front cover. It said, "Thank you, Robert." Robert held it very carefully. He thanked James with tears. Robert told everyone their story. He explained how they first met. He said honesty created their friendship. The children listened very carefully. They learned an important lesson. James understood something very special. A simple wallet changed everything. It brought two people together. It created a beautiful friendship. It also improved his English. Robert also learned something important. Helping children made him happy. He felt young while teaching. He enjoyed every afternoon with them. His life became more meaningful. Months passed and James improved. He could read English stories easily. He understood many new words. His confidence became much stronger. His teacher praised his progress. James never forgot Robert's kindness. He continued visiting him regularly. They read books together often. They talked about life too. Their friendship became very strong. One day, James had news. He won a reading competition. His teacher announced his name proudly. James immediately thought about Robert. He wanted to thank him. James ran to Robert's house. Robert opened the door happily. James showed him the trophy. Robert smiled with great pride. He hugged James warmly. James said Robert helped him. Robert said James worked very hard. Both friends smiled at each other. They knew both efforts mattered. It was a beautiful moment. Years later, James remembered everything. He remembered finding that wallet. He remembered meeting Robert that afternoon. He remembered every English lesson. Those memories stayed forever. James eventually became a teacher. He loved teaching English stories. He helped children read confidently. He always remembered Robert's lessons. He taught with great patience. James often shared his story. He told students about honesty. He told them about kindness. He told them about helping others. His students listened carefully. The lost wallet changed James's life. One honest action opened many doors. One friendship created lasting happiness. One teacher inspired another teacher. Kindness continued through many years. James always followed one simple rule. Always return what belongs to others. Always help when someone needs help. Always be honest and kind. Good actions can change lives.